Hey, all, welcome to the Common Good Podcast. Hey there, Robb Ryerse. Nice to see you.
So nice to hear that theme music.
The dulcet tones. Yeah, it's nice to be back in business, back where we were supposed to be. I'm back at home in the home studio of Resistance here on Peacedale Avenue. Trying to do what we can to, save a democracy again. Rob, it's been a long time trying to do this work. And people often ask, because they're kind, and they say things like, hey man, how you doing? How's your work?
Yeah.
I was at a church on Sunday, and a nice person asked me that, and I was like, it's terrible. It's actually terrible. We shouldn't have to be doing this, and it's not going great. Because Donald Trump is continuing to harm the country. His foolishness, his
not just the country, the world.
Well said. Mm-hmm. For God so loved the world, and for Donald Trump so hurt the world. With his foolishness, Rob, just sheer foolishness. We'll get into it. I mean, we got to do our little updates. I'm apparently a little revved up.
Mm-hmm.
I'll jump right in. Yeah, it's foolishness, arrogance, just ignorance, foolishness, arrogance, all the ances. Yeah. I mean, just an ants party with these people. And I know some of the MAGA people are still hanging tight, and I know some of them watch. Hello, good to see you. Nice to have you around. I know they're still hanging in there, But my favorite, I'm already into it. But my favorite was the Speaker of the House, Michael Johnson, saying, "Give Trump a little space to breathe here. Give him a little time for his program to work. He's only a couple days in, That's funny because I didn't ever hear the suggestion that Joe Biden just needed a little time.
That's right.
To let it all work out. Didn't hear that for a minute.
Yeah.
But if the old man needs a little time, we give him a little time. So I think we've given him plenty. At least the people who choose to build their wealth around the stock market. I mean, there's a real thought that didn't go so well. The great argument from these cats, though, Rob, the Dow is only down to the level it was when Trump came in. So far, he's only lost his own gains. Once he tips into Biden territory, then it's going to be trouble. But we'll get into all that. And I got a little piece about Elon Musk to show. And I feel bad about it. Truthfully, Rob, I feel bad about it because I don't like to call another man a fool or ignorant or stupid. I do not like to do it.
But sometimes we have to do things we don't like to do.
Yeah, when people earn, you got to pay.
Eat Brussels sprouts. Do you like Brussels sprouts?
I do, actually, especially if they're baked.
Yeah. You got to eat your Brussels sprouts. You gotta make sure you get enough exercise and brush your teeth a couple times a day.
Shower. Get up.
Well, that's optional.
You enjoy a good shower. I do not enjoy a good shower.
I do enjoy a good shower. And sometimes you got to call somebody a fool and ignorant.
Well, if they earn it, that's all I'm saying. Yeah. People deserve what they earn. If they work for it and they earn it, you have to pay them. And so Elon Musk.
Well, I mean, Doug, we could use one of those lines that used to drive me crazy. People would say, the most loving thing you can do is tell somebody the truth. Like, no, actually, the most loving thing you can do is be loving. But that was always the hey, I'm about to say something terrible to you.
Yes.
Judgmental and horrible, but I'm doing it because I love you.
That's right. Almost always it was a negative thing. Very rarely. Yeah. It's like the street preacher thing. You never see a street preacher standing out on the street corner yelling, "God loves you and there's nothing you can do about it. No work to be done. Keep living your beautiful life. God is on your side." You rarely hear those people.
Totally do that. We should do that. That'd be so fun.
Signs, the whole deal. Bullhorn.
Yeah.
No, I don't know why. Sometimes I feel like the Vote Common Good bus traveling around saying faith, hope, and love for the common good. A little bit of that.
Yeah.
A little bit of that.
Totally.
Hey, what else is going on? Let's not dive right in. What else
I had a fantastic tournament bracket.
Okay.
In the first round, I picked 27 of the 32 games correctly.
Wow, Rob. Incredible.
I had 14 of the 16 Sweet 16 teams. Incredible. I had 6 of the 8 Elite Eight teams.
How'd you do at the
And
How'd you do at the end? How'd you do at the big
not good.
dance?
Not good. Not good. No, my Final Four just totally blew up, and besides that,
Sorry for your loss.
yeah, and my team, which is the Duke Blue Devils, lost in the Final Four as well. But I'm sure, Doug, you probably enjoyed the championship game last night, Houston against Florida. I did enjoy the game. It was very exciting. Florida ended up pulling off the national championship. I think up until I think they only led for something like 30 seconds in the entire game. They only had the lead
Florida.
for Florida, and they won.
Last second surge for the
Yeah. It was
snatched
very
it.
exciting. Yeah.
So if they had had another 5 minutes, the Houston team's probably saying to themselves, we would have.
Well, no, because at that point the tide had turned. They had led the whole game, and then
it fell from their fingers.
Yes.
Well, I've been a college basketball player myself. I have felt that. I've never felt they come from behind and grab the championship at the end. I have felt we were ahead. The championship and lost. I felt that.
Yeah.
It's probably why I don't touch it today.
Doug, has there been just a deluge? What's the word I'm looking for here? Deluge of money? Of money. Why did I say of money? Of rain? It was certainly not of money. Of rain in Minnesota as there has been in Arkansas?
No.
We have had 5 inches of rain.
Wow.
It's been crazy.
Wow. Like flooding level of rain?
Yeah, in places, but I mean, it's been just nuts. It's finally yesterday it cleared off and we had a nice, beautiful sunny day.
Well, we're in for a beautiful week here in Minneapolis area. It's going to be in the 50s, 60s, 70s, building for the weekend. Just great. It's going to be lovely. And you get that in April around here, and man, you just feel like the gods love you a little bit.
Yeah, I was interviewing a gentleman yesterday who moved to Arkansas in 2014, something like that, to take care of his grandmother. Moved from Minnesota and to Arkansas, and his grandmother ended up dying, and her children sold the house that he was living in. He ended up living on the streets, and we were talking about how he had this experience and then kind of put his life back together and is married and living in an apartment now and doing really well. But he said a couple of times, he said, I wasn't going back to the cold in Minnesota.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The winners do weed out the weak. There's no doubt about that. We got the herd. Yeah. No, I mean, once you don't, if you don't have to, and you're not prone to the cold, but there are a lot of people around here who really do enjoy it. I mean, really, truly, like people who enjoy a rainy day. Yeah. Some people enjoy the hot sun. So, there's lots of types. And if you're not typed for this place, it is some harsh territory. Well, Rob, I started a juice diet 4 days ago. I'm 4 days into a juice fast. Wow. Some people call it juice fast. It sounds more fancy, I think. So it's been all juice and vegetables, vegetable juice and fruit juice for 4 days, and coffee. I'm not crabby this time. It's really strange. I haven't even felt hungry this time. Yeah. Sometimes I get real crabby, real hungry, real irritable.
I know. I've experienced it. Yeah. I've been on the receiving end.
Yeah. Sorry about that. So, I feel a little peppy about it all. So that might not come out as I start talking about Elon Musk, though. Yeah. Can we jump right into that?
Let's do it.
I see Dane Amons. Hey, Dane. Good to have your comment here from Facebook saying, so Elon's stepping down. Well, not soon enough. And you're still butthurt he cut waste. I've never heard the phrase butthurt. But
really?
thank you for that one, Dane. No. No, what?
Really?
Yeah, barely. I hang around a
It's
limited vocabulary
amusing,
crowd.
but it also feels a little homophobic.
Oh,
Hmm.
oh, I could have sworn it was a biking, cycling reference, because I have felt, having biked across the United States of America in effort to
Yeah.
support
You have
people who
been
are
butthurt.
punished by our immigration policy, I have literally been butthurt. I have butt butter, and I have
Yeah.
felt the butt hurt.
Mm.
So I thought that's what it was, Dane. If people take it the other way, my apology for Dane's homophobic content. All right. So, okay. I don't know Dane, but he's got another thing up here. So to be clear, you'd rather not tax other countries with tariffs. That's not what tariffs do, Dane. We'll get to that in a minute. They don't tax the other country, Dane, just real quick.
That's right.
Mexico is not paying the 10% or 20%.
Yeah.
U.S. purchasers of Mexico made products do. That's how it works. So it might be the importer, it might be the company, it might be an individual purchaser. In the United States, the tariff is on a product made there and then paid by the purchaser in the United States. So if you think that is a tax on another country, it's not. And I think he just said it is, though. So, okay, we won't have that conversation. You're cool with income tax, sales tax, capital gains tax, and property tax? No, I want them to be much higher on wealthy people. So I'm not. Do you realize the current administration, sorry about that, we have a little timer on these comments, they just go away on their own, is planning to cut taxes and other ways to help citizens? Yeah, okay. So I'm glad Dane brought this up, because this is the big argument of Trump. The reason we're putting in tariffs, which is a tax on American purchasers, is so that we can cut other taxes. The reason we're going to cut spending at the federal level is so that we can cut other taxes and not have the deficit explode like it did in his first term. That's the whole point, friends. They want to cut money being spent on FAA security and protections. They want to cut it on national parks. They want to cut it on food programs and health programs in other nations. They want to cut it in our military. They want to cut it to veteran benefits so that people can get a tax cut without causing the deficit to go up. That's what they want to do. Do I think that's a bad idea? Yes, I think that's an insanely bad idea. I think they're cutting the things that make America great. There is no waste that has been cut.
Dane, you ever seen the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off? If not, I suggest you watch it today. Carve out 2 hours of your time. It is hilarious. You'll see a number of stars, as young people. And in the middle of it, if you're paying attention, you might just learn a little bit about the history of tariffs.
And what they do to economies.
And, what happened in the United States the last time we tried this. Now, hopefully you'll be paying more attention than the students in the class are. But give it a shot. Watch a little Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Laugh a little bit.
Look at this.
And probably yeah.
Okay. So let me thanks, Dane. Appreciate your comments.
Yep.
Let me show you Elon Musk speaking in Wisconsin 10 days ago or so at one of his rallies where he was planning to give away $1 million in order to invite people to vote the way he wanted them to vote.
Yeah, to influence an election.
It lost, and he, I think, broke the law. But, we have an administration that is a criminal syndicate, a family crime syndicate. So, of course, they're going to hire Elon Musk to do their work. What Elon Musk is about to say, and I feel like we're going to have to watch it twice because it's 2 minutes long. And in all honesty, it is so wrong on every point that it's hard to wrap your mind around the fact that Elon Musk, who you may think is a smart guy, you may think is an accomplished guy, and more importantly, you might think is an informed guy. It will be hard for you to imagine that every point he makes is factually incorrect. And the conclusion that he draws is dead wrong.
It is. I mentioned my bracket earlier and my ability to pick 27 of the 32 games in the first round correctly. It's hard to be right consistently, and it's also really hard to be wrong consistently. Like, if you try to pick the losers of every game, I mean, it's really tough.
Be kind of like picking the winners, but when it's a head-to-head match. But what's great there, Rob, is as you were saying that, the internet went, so in the middle of you saying wrong, it elongated it like Fonzie trying to say I was wrong on Happy Days when we were kids. Okay, here it is. Elon Musk. I'm just going to suffer you through listening to it once. It's 2 minutes long. Then we're going to come back and maybe take it down piece by piece. Because honestly. Okay, Elon Musk is answering a question. The first voice you're going to hear is a person in the audience asking him a question here.
The question is about USAID. Has the Doge team found any evidence that any of the radical left Democrats like Maxine Waters, Adam Schiff, Chuck Schumer have received money directly from USAID? And if so, will we be hearing about that evidence anytime soon?
Yeah. So there is a massive amount of corruption, but it is circuitous. So what happens is there's money that, obviously it's your taxpayer money, that is then sent to various government organizations who then send it to NGOs, which an NGO is a non-governmental organization, but obviously if it's a government-funded non-governmental organization, it's just an organization, it's just a government. And effectively there's a giant fraud loophole, which is that the government can send money to an NGO that is then no longer governed by the laws of the United States. So they'll send the money overseas to one NGO, then they'll go through a bunch of them, and then I'm highly confident that a bunch of that money then comes back to the United States and lands in the pockets of the people you just mentioned. But it is a circuitous route. It's not like it doesn't go directly, but let's just say that there's a lot of strangely wealthy members of Congress where I'm trying to connect the dots of how did they become rich? Well, how'd they get 20 million if they're earning 200,000 a year? Nobody can explain that. So something's, yeah, we're going to try to figure it out and certainly stop it.
On this topic, you may never hear something more factually incorrect and stupid. Every single thing in there is wrong. Let me just start with the irony here for a moment. That Elon Musk is trying to explain that senators became rich by getting money from the government. Elon Musk's business's primary client is the government. If you bought a Tesla and got a $7,500 tax credit, Elon Musk got money from the government. Elon Musk's primary business with SpaceX is the government. Starlink is the government. All the money the man has made by buying other companies has come from the government. So the irony of this, that somehow he wants to tell the rest of us that senators are grifting money off of USAID is unthinkable. And it is so factually wrong. So I know people are going to scream about that, and we're going to get that out right away. Elon Musk works for the federal government. Yes. Not in the Doge job where he doesn't get paid. All of his other valuation. If you took all of the government contracts of Elon Musk businesses away, the businesses would be worth nothing.
Yeah.
Who works for this? This is such utter bullshit. It's hard to even wrap your head around.
Can we even take a step back from that?
Please.
I want to, and I'm going to let you rant all you want about Elon, and I'm looking forward to hearing it. I would like to rant a little bit about the question. The question was, do you have any evidence to prove, with the assumption that, you eventually will be, do you have any evidence to prove that radical left members of Congress like Maxine Waters, Adam Schiff, and Chuck Schumer have, gotten money from the government? If you think that Maxine Waters, Adam Schiff, and Chuck Schumer are radical left, you are so far right that you have no conception of reality. In any other part of the world, Adam Schiff, Chuck Schumer, and Maxine Waters would be conservatives. They would be Tories in England. They are not radical. Now, if you had said Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Bernie Sanders, Ayanna Pressley, okay, maybe. But if you think that centrist corporate Democrats like Chuck Schumer, Maxine Waters, and Adam Schiff are radical left, you don't get to comment on politics because you're not viewing it honestly. Utterly ridiculous. Okay.
Point made. Rob doesn't want you to slice the prosciutto a bit thinner to separate out the left from the radical left and the moderate left.
And
point well made.
The centrists in the Democratic Party.
Yes. I would like to pick on the other part of the question. We'll go back and let people suffer people through listening to it again.
I'm gonna keep you my breath.
Have you found proof yet? You know what the answer was? No, not yet.
No, we haven't.
The answer is no. And by the way,
we have a theory about how maybe it could have happened, but we have no proof.
I'm highly confident. I'm highly confident, he said. Look, do we have any proof that Elon Musk through Doge has cut any waste? No. Unless you consider waste vital programs that help American citizens and Americans' reputation around the world. Now, you can call anything you want waste. You know what I would call waste? Doge. Cut Doge. I would call that waste. I would call servants in the White House. I'm watching this great little show called The Residence. Are you watching that one on Netflix? It's a fun little show, kind of a comedy show about the White House. They kind of show you all the stuff going on in the White House. Get rid of all those people. Cut them all.
On the scale between Veep and the West Wing.
Veep. Closer to Veep.
Wow.
But not so. But
Veep.
Oh yeah, but not so for sure. Yeah, it's a comedy. It's about a murder. Yeah, you know.
It's a comedy about a murder.
I'd put it somewhere between The West Wing and Clue. Oh. The movie Clue. Yeah, on that spectrum, not Veep. But closer to Veep. Okay, there's a lot of things you could cut. The stuff they've chosen to cut, ridiculous. But the government, the federal government, Dane and others might blow your mind. Somebody holds this opinion. Does not waste money. The only thing it does is spend money. You might not like how it's spent, but it's not waste. By the way, all money in the United States, all money in the world that is a US dollar comes from the federal government. None of it comes from taxpayers. The government produces money. The only reason we tax people is to change their behavior or to reduce the amount of money that's in the economy because new money goes in. That's not the point I want to make about this. This notion, though, that there's rampant waste. If you asked Elon Musk, he would say, I think there's up to 5 to 7% waste in the federal government. There's more waste than that in every business. You ask any comptroller of a large business, any private business owner, they'll tell you I have more than 5 to 7% waste in everything because that's what you have to make a system work. It's amazing that the federal government can do it for 5 to 7% of waste. And this joker comes in and decides these things are what he considers waste. Now, here's the worst problem. He assumes the question and then says this level of unbelievable
is about
nonsense.
USAID. Has the Doge team found any evidence that any of the radical left Democrats like Maxine Waters, Adam Schiff, Chuck Schumer have received money directly from USAID? And if so, will we be hearing about that evidence anytime soon?
Yeah. So.
Okay, so important note here. In this world of people that would go to an Elon Musk, maybe I could get paid by Elon Musk for voting rally, the assumption that government officials are grifting off of the federal government is so built in that people know to applaud. By the way, do you know who grifts off the federal government? Donald Trump. Literally court cases proving his crimes.
Do you know who has never held a rally and for the express purpose of paying people to vote? George Soros.
Interesting. George Soros has never actually given $1 million check to someone because they voted. Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. Oh, but nobody has, right? Oh, no, Elon Musk did.
Oh, yeah.
Multiple times. No, I don't mind that the man's on the stage touching his fake hair, touching his reconstructed chin, touching his face that is
gender affirming
chin.
care.
I don't mind at all. He does seem a little unnerved here. He's not a very good communicator. If I were running a business on a board, I would say I'm not sure this is our guy, but a lot of people seem to like him, so fair enough. So now he goes on after not saying no, we haven't found any proof of that, and says this.
There is a massive amount of corruption, but it is circuitous. So what?
Okay, there's a massive amount of corruption, but it's circuitous, and we can't really find out how, but we know it's there. Yeah, any proof at all, please, any proof at all. Because you know what? Senator Menendez, Democratic senator from New Jersey, convicted, is going to go to jail.
Yeah, because he
Blagojevich,
yes.
Democratic governor of Illinois, went to jail, then pardoned by Trump.
Yep.
People who commit these crimes, that guy in Alaska, they catch them and they prosecute them.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Let the Justice Department find any of it. And if you think you can't find it, maybe it's underneath Hunter Biden's laptop. Maybe it's underneath Joe Biden's $10 million he got from China, which they still talk about and can't show. This nonsense, this unbelievable fever dream of the right.
I know where it is.
The left is stealing the money from the federal government.
I know where it is.
If that's your problem, then you don't spend your time cutting the program. You spend your time convicting the criminal.
I've solved it. It's in the pants box.
It's in the pants box. In the shower, in the bathroom.
That's a
callback to Donald Trump stealing.
Pause every once in a while and remind ourselves that Donald Trump has a pants box.
He still does. And he's declassified it now, all of it now.
He keeps pants.
He keeps his pants in the box because that's what he said in the court filings. The files were in there with my pants box, in my pants box. If Elon Musk believe it, and the idea that this guy's coming in like some superhero, and now I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to connect the dots. I'm going to find out how they've been stealing all the USAID money. Okay, so he goes on. So the assumption here is there's massive corruption. There is none. The federal government prosecutors would be all over this. They don't need you, Elon, who knows nothing about any of it, to come in. Oh, there's massive corruption. And then he says this other nonsense. We're just gonna keep
what happens is there's money that, obviously it's your taxpayer money, that is then sent to various government organizations who then send it to NGOs, which an NGO is a non-governmental organization, but obviously if it's a government-funded non-governmental organization, it's just an organization. It's just a government.
No, non-government organizations, which in the United States we call nonprofits, around the world they call them non-government organizations, NGOs. They're not just the government. They might get a grant that comes from a government.
They're literally not the government. They are
non-governmental
organizations. You know, because they're the organizations that have to sprout up and try to fill in the gaps and fix the things that the government has just said, nah, we're not going to bother with that.
Yes. It would be like saying that Lockheed Martin is just the government, because Lockheed Martin gets its money from the government. It would be like saying SpaceX is just the government because it gets its money from the government. Many of these NGOs don't even get the majority of their money from the government.
Right. There's a whole system of writing grants and foundations. There's this whole bureaucratic craziness where you try to find a rich person,
yes,
who might want to, you know, donate to your cause, or a family foundation or something along these lines. I don't know if Elon Musk has one of those.
I don't know either. I was going to say the same thing. If he's not doing what so many others have done, Bill Gates Foundation is involved with NGOs.
I live in Northwest Arkansas. The Walton Family Foundation funds so much stuff.
Yes.
The Tyson family, the Hunt family, they fund so much stuff.
And a little bit of money comes from the government, and the rest of the money comes from other places. That's how nonprofits and NGOs work. And that's how they work with USAID.
Yes.
They're not just government agencies.
Right.
And for him to say, and I kind of want people to have to hear it again, for him to say, if they get the money from the government, then they're really just the same thing as the government. So what he's trying to build here is that senators pass bills for spending. Congress, actually, the House passes bills, then it's ratified in the Senate, and the president signs it. And then that money gets distributed to some other government organization that doesn't actually have to follow the rules of the United States, by the way. And then they can funnel the money back, because the assumption is they are still in charge of that non-governmental organization. They're not. Of course they are not. It is so uninformed, truly uninformed at every point. But here he says it again.
Which an NGO is a non-governmental organization, but obviously if it's a government-funded non-governmental organization, it's just an organization. It's just a government.
It is not. Just so moronic. Here we go.
And effectively, there's a giant fraud loophole, which is that the government can send money to an NGO that is then no longer governed by the laws of the United States. So they'll send the money overseas to one NGO, then they'll go through a bunch of them, and then I'm highly confident that a bunch of that money then comes back to the United States and lands in the pockets of the people you just mentioned.
First of all, ridiculous. Second of all, if you're highly confident of that with no proof and it's impossible for it to even happen, you are a person who has confidence in things that no one should trust. If you trust Elon Musk and he says to you, I have high level of confidence that that is happening, you are trusting someone whose confidence is untrustworthy. It is so broken. This whole thing. Non-government organizations and nonprofits in the United States, both of who receive money from USAID that's been cut, do have to follow U.S. law if they take that money. They actually have to prove that they follow U.S. law. In fact, one of the U.S. laws is that any money that comes from the federal government and goes out to other nations to be distributed and spent can't be spent on certain things, like abortions. They cannot spend it on abortions because we have a law that says you can't fund abortions with federal funding, and they have to follow it. He is wrong about how the money gets distributed. He's wrong about the organizations that receive it. He's wrong about the rules that govern those organizations. The accounting that goes on for USAID is so extensive. In fact, one of the things that they do is they pay for AIDS medication all over the world, HIV and AIDS medication all over the world. They're not just giving people random dollars that then's being sent through a bunch of bank accounts and sent back. Do you know who actually has done that? Donald J. Trump. But do you know who has not done that? Maxine Waters. So this idea that he thinks that what USAID is some shady grift, he apparently has no idea. I have been in places and seen USAID spending. I know people who run organizations that have USAID spending. I don't think Elon Musk does, because if he did, he wouldn't say, I'm highly confident. Should we listen to it again? Listen to this utter nonsense.
And then I'm highly confident that a bunch of that money then comes back to the United States and lands in the pockets of the people you just mentioned.
A bunch of that money. What makes you confident in that? You can't prove it. You know how possible that would be to prove? So possible. But can't prove any of it. So he says I've cut waste. It's really just important spending that was in the priorities of the United States of America. And this guy just decides he's going to cut it. Like he's some God king or something and gets to decide all of this.
I want to make this point. When the United States, excuse me, when the United States through USAID invests in supports, provides grants to non-government organizations.
You need a minute? Sometimes it gets a man just choked up.
Oh, just choked up. When the United States supports NGOs, nonprofits, and provides aid to other countries, in other countries. For instance, you mentioned HIV medication. We do that because it's in our national interest to do that. Because the spread of infectious disease can turn into a global pandemic.
Yes.
And it's in our national interest to prevent a global pandemic. It's in our national interest to help farming in Africa. It's in our national interest to do so many of these things. Now, let's say, like, are you going to be able to find the crazy program that's like, oh, well, I don't know, what we're doing here? Yeah, maybe. But so much of this is vital work that is in our national interest.
Yes.
And when we stop doing it, we put in peril our own country.
That's right.
And the world.
Yes. Yeah. Do
you remember COVID?
Well, again, this is all built on the fact that the same people think COVID was not a global crisis. I promise you, Frank, in the comments here, these people, they're going to say, yeah, I remember COVID. It was also a big scam. I mean, this is the thing. I think Elon Musk thinks that COVID and COVID response and NIH that he chose to cut was part of the scam. Right. This is the thing, Rob, that's just so unbelievably maddening. The utter foolishness of these people. Ignorance and foolishness.
The myopic short-sightedness of it. Like, listen, we live in a world. Like, and
yes.
And, I mean, I live in a neighborhood. It, like, there's times when, I've gotten, I have a neighbor who is currently in China, a Chinese woman who's back visiting her homeland, and she has some fish that she needs taken care of. Asked for help. Because they live in a neighborhood, provide some help. And, you just do that in a neighborhood. Like we live on a planet with other countries, and they're like, it's in our national interest to help people.
Yes. And look, if you think that the way the United States federal government is organized, I see people in the chat saying this.
And Frank, hold on. Frank just said we must be paid trolls. Frank,
and that it's broken. It's okay.
Frank,
we're not paid by anybody.
The only person paying people is Elon Musk at this event, giving away $2 million.
Yes, he
literally.
You
want to talk about paid trolls? How about all the people at that rally who are there just so they, fingers crossed, they can get the big check from Elon? He's the one paying people.
Yeah.
They're the paid trolls. Listen, if you knew what we were paid for doing this,
it's zero.
You would not call us paid trolls.
And I promise, the guy who literally won the $1 million check at that rally is a guy who worked for congressional candidates and Senate candidates.
And Turning Point USA.
USA. That's the guy who won, literally paying their own people. Here's the thing. What that old Buddhist notion, you don't see the world as it is, you see the world as you are, is really helpful for a lot of things, especially for interpersonal work and for politics. If you're convinced that we're paid trolls, if you're convinced that Maxine Waters is actually stealing money from the government, let me ask you this. Have you embezzled from your own company? Have you stolen from people that trusted you? Have you paid people to do things they wouldn't do unless you paid them, and when they find out they were paid to do it, it becomes a scandal? Because that's what Elon Musk has done. And if you're seeing the world like that, and you believe that is USAID, you think you would rather trust Elon Musk than the people who work in AIDS and farming support around the world? Shame on you. If you don't know anything about what USAID has done, and you're happy that he took money from food banks in Kansas, and you don't know that that was USAID support, and you don't know that farmers all over America just had their subsidies cut because they were providing food to be distributed around the world through USAID, and they're going to go bankrupt, shame on you for saying I trust Elon Musk on this. Because you just heard the guy say he's pretty sure that that money is just a big grift and, quote, a bunch of it is coming back and going in the pockets of those people. And do you know why Elon Musk is saying that? He tells you in the next sentence.
But it is a circuitous route. It's not like it doesn't go directly, but let's just say that there's a lot of strangely wealthy members of Congress where I'm trying to connect the dots of how did they become rich while earning. How they get 20 million if they're earning 200,000 a year? Nobody can explain that.
Elon Musk, how much money are you being paid to work for Doge? Zero. How do you have all the money you have then? Where'd you get it? Where'd you get all the money? Oh, you had it before you started working for Doge? You know what a lot of senators do? They make a lot of money and then they go into politics. You know what a lot of Congress people do? They make a lot of money and then they go into politics. Some people are married to people who make a lot of money when they're in politics. Some people make investments and run businesses and then they're in politics. Do they make money from grifting off the government to make themselves millionaires? No, that is utterly foolish talk. Utterly foolish talk. You can say it all you want because you want to put it on the backs of these people. You want to say that about Rick Scott, the very conservative senator from Florida, worth, I don't know, $300 million? Oh, because he made it before he got into government. How much of it did he make off of contracts with the government? Is he like you, Elon Musk, where that's where his wealth came from? Government contracts that, by the way, are also connected to all of the agencies that you wanted to cut. Cutting USAID opened up opportunities for your companies around the world. So this unbelievable slander and notion that he's a highly confident, smart guy who knows there's a circuitous route that all this money takes, and he's highly confident that a bunch of it has come back and put in the pockets, and that's how people making $200,000 a year are now worth $20 million, and he's going to connect the dots. If you trust that guy, Godspeed to you. It is the most insane notion that, first of all, there's ever been enough money in USAID to run through some circuitous route and then grift back and go into the pockets of U.S. politicians. When politicians get paid off, let me get close. When politicians get paid off, hang on a second. I'm gonna really into this. When politicians get paid off and they commit crimes for which they are then punished, do you know who the money has never come from? Poor farmers in Africa. Do you know who the money has never come from? Food banks in Kansas. Do you know who the money has come from? Rich donors like Elon Musk. How dare him suggest that this crucial work that has been going on around the world for decades is really just a grift to make senators and congresspeople on the left really rich. It is nonsense. And if you think that you trust a guy who's highly confident that that's what happened, I think you should readjust your priorities. This is so, the fact that this was broadcast on C-SPAN for the country of old people to watch, and everyone is not freaking out about what a foolishness this is. And that man who's that foolish today is spending his time deciding what is waste and fraud. His whole job is to tell us what is fraud. And he thinks this is fraud. If that's why he's cutting USAID, someone should explain to him that's not happening and leave the money there and go cut the executive branch state dinner budget, which probably would be considered a little bit of fraud and waste. Maybe you don't need 17 butlers in the White House. Cut them all. Go get your own food from the kitchen. There could be some fraud and waste. I mean, one guy's waistline could sure stand a little cut. How about cutting the butlers?
Wow. We're not body shaming.
No. We're talking about a guy who wants to tell us that kids don't need the food while you're funding a guy to bring food to the president. Gonna get woke shamed about body shaming? Nope. This guy is ridiculous.
Doug, when you think of liberal, left-leaning publications, is one of the first ones you think of Business Insider?
Well, if it's covering Vote Common Good, I would, yes, they've been very good to us.
Business Insider is not a liberal left. It's closer to Wall Street Journal than it is, Mother Jones. Article published on March 18th of 2025. Here's how members of Congress actually get rich. The article begins by talking about all of these false things that Elon Musk has said, repeating many of these things, and then it gets down to the brass tacks. Under ethics rules, members of the House and Senate are generally barred from earning more than roughly $30,000 in outside income from other jobs. Some make use of that. Marco Rubio, now the Secretary of State, earned more than $20,000 a year teaching college courses when he was a senator. Disclosure show. Many do not. But some lawmakers do manage to find a way to make extra money while serving. One that's perfectly legal and not subject to the outside income limit. Book deals. Book deals.
Book deals.
You want to know how Chuck Schumer got rich? Book deal.
You can literally see the contracts.
Like there are federal disclosure websites that you can see all of this stuff. If all these people that want to, the do your own research crowd, how about you do your own research?
Yeah.
Instead of living in this conspiracy theory land of the circuitous route of the Ponzi scheme of USAID, of like, the shell companies and No, it's not how it works.
Yes.
It's not how it works. I feel like the old lady in that commercial. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. If you were saying, well, could a presidential candidate take money from a publication to cover up a story? Yeah, they could. I mean, you might be convicted of fraud, campaign finance violations.
Hey, do we have any evidence or proof of fraud?
Yes, which we had an entire court case about the fraud of Donald Trump. So again, as you've said many times, quoting others, projection or admission.
Yep. Can I?
And look, I just want to stay on this for one more minute.
And I want to, once we get done, I want to circle back, and I've got a point to make about tariffs.
The circuitous route back to tariffs. When you're speaking with your family and friends, there's a few things that people keep saying that are just kind of built in. And I just want to be one little voice, if you're listening to any of this, to encourage you. You don't have to say that. You don't have to say getting rid of fraud and waste in the federal government is a good idea. It's not. It's not even necessary. What's it going to do? Every dollar spent by the United States government is given to the economy, and most of it to American citizens. What you call waste is money that is spent in industries in the United States. And plus, you may not like it. You might even say to yourself, a $4,000 toilet seat. Like from, I don't know, 1984 or something. A lectern or podium.
Lectern.
Money went to somebody. Mm-hmm. You might say, hey, let's not spend the money there. It's never wasted. It's a difference in priorities. And if you want to just say we have a different set of priorities, we don't want to give the money to food banks, we want to give tax breaks to rich people, say it. But if we keep allowing people to call different priorities waste and fraud, that is a rhetorical trick. We all use rhetorical tricks. Put it under a category of something people don't like, and then you can get people not to like it.
Yeah, kind of like calling Chuck Schumer, Adam Schiff, and Maxine Waters radical left.
Sure. When you call this stuff fraud and waste, rather than, hey, these are different priorities, you could get a better deal on that. Let's figure out how to make things work in a way that the people making decisions make sense. And if somebody's stealing from the business, from the company, from the government, we will have means to prosecute them. Why don't you spend your time doing that or proving any of it, rather than saying things that are part of America's priorities, we don't want those priorities anymore, we want other priorities. Every time you allow people to say we sure should get rid of fraud and waste, I mean, if you're in a business, if you're in a family budget, and say your partner, your lifelong partner of 40 years says to you, I think it's a waste for you to buy a Les Paul standard guitar. And you say to yourself, wow, my dear,
questioning all the choices you made in your life.
I do not consider that to be waste. I consider that to be an important decision. Then you're having a relational argument about these things. We have a political process. Just a second. We have a political process to decide on spending. It is not this. So I think we should stop saying fraud and waste is of course happening. We should get rid of it until you can point it out. Doge has pointed out zero. If they had an example of fraud and waste, Don't you think they would share it? Do you remember when Donald Trump thought $50 million was spent on condoms for Gaza? What did he do? He Truth Social posted that, only to later find out Gaza is not only a place in the Middle East for the Palestinians, it's also a region of Africa. So $50 million was spent on family planning condom support in a whole region of Africa. He decried it as waste and then found out, oh, wrong place, and then went quiet. You think if they had other examples, they wouldn't be touting them day by day? There wouldn't be a website just listing all the fraud and all the criminals they prosecuted? Don't you think they would be doing that? I'm pretty sure they would, because they're the most efficient administration in American history. They would tell the American people where they found it. They don't share a single example. What they do is tell us about the veterans who don't have their jobs any longer. They tell us about the food banks that have been cut, tell us about the child care centers that have been shut down, because they don't think that's America's priority. So if you want to have an argument about priorities, we have a whole system for that. Let's have it out, but call it what it is. Second point, stop acting like Elon Musk somehow knows about any of this stuff.
Yeah.
He stands on a stage and says that. Now, if you believe that that's all true, you're probably going to think he really knows his stuff. If you're pretty sure that's not true, or have a suspicion that maybe the guy with the hat and the guy with the coffee cup could be right about this, let's stop giving him the benefit of the doubt. He's either uninformed intentionally, or he's informed and processes the information in a way that you would call foolish. Wow. Should we all just take a deep breath? Have Doug stop yelling at you?
I'd like to say something about tariffs.
I am so mad. Okay, please.
Earlier in the comments, Frank mentioned that tariffs that are good for the goose are good for the gander. This whole idea of reciprocal tariffs. Other countries have put tariffs on the import of American goods, so we're going to put tariffs on the imports of their goods. Frank and everybody else, it's the greatest economy on the planet. Would you say that the greatest economy on the planet is the economy of Vietnam? No? Would you say it's Madagascar? No? Would you say it's Europe? No, you wouldn't. Would you say it's Canada? Mexico? No,
the island with the penguins?
Yeah, the Penguin Island. Is that no? The greatest economy on the planet is the United States, right? The United States, which does not have high tariffs, meaning the price of goods in our country is less, meaning consumers spend more money and buy more goods. Why do you want to mimic the way these liberal socialist countries run their economy? If tariffs were so great, why isn't every other economy in the world better than ours? If all of these countries are, maybe these countries ought to follow the American example and not have high tariffs, because it's actually damaging to a nation's economy. Maybe instead of us following their lead, they ought to follow our lead, rather than us changing how we do things. And listen, so we're just gonna do what all the socialist countries do. That's what we're gonna do.
But just
It's
reciprocal
ridiculous.
socialism. That's all MAGA wants is reciprocal socialism.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Especially when you understand. So well said, Rob. Thank you. Especially when you realize that a tariff is not paid by the other country. When there's a tariff on a product from being sold from the United States, soybeans being sold into Vietnam, and they put a tariff on it, we don't pay that tariff. The person who's in Vietnam and wants to bring in the soybeans is told by the Vietnam government, if you do that, you're going to pay more to us. You're going to pay a penalty to our government because you're buying the soybeans from the United States rather than buying them from local farmers. So we're going to make it harder for you, Vietnamese soybean purchaser, to buy from the United States. That's what a tariff does. A tariff makes the behavior less attractive than a free market. For the United States to put a tariff on other countries, it's saying to U.S. citizens, we're going to make it harder, more painful for you to buy that guitar from Mexico because we're going to charge you more money to buy it from Mexico. And you're not going to pay Mexico the money, and Mexico is not going to pay the United States, the government, the money. You, as the purchaser of it, are going to pay the United States government a penalty for purchasing that from Mexico because we don't want you to. There are some things that we might want to put that punishment narrative on top of. Electric cars from China.
Because we don't want Americans buying European electric cars.
We want them buying from who, Rob? Tesla.
Elon Musk.
Yeah. So you say to an American, if you want to buy a $40,000 car from China, we're going to put a 100% tariff on that. So it's $80,000 for a $40,000 car. You know why? Because we want you to buy a $40,000 car made in the United States. And if you choose to buy it in Mexico or in China, from China, you're going to pay more and we're going to punish you. And the United States government's going to take that money.
Yep.
The United States government gets the money from you, the purchaser.
Yeah.
This is
and then
how
gives it immediately to Maxine Waters.
And it sticks it in the pocket through a circuitous route. Do you know who that, in the Trump schema, do you know who the tariffs are going to benefit? It's going to take a minute because it is actually a circuitous route. The wealthiest people in the United States. And here's why. Because any money that comes in by tariffs can be counted as income in the United States. And therefore, any tax reduction that we make that limits the amount of money that goes on the income balance of the United States can match the amount that we receive in tariffs. So Donald Trump says if we put a bunch of tariffs and it, say, raises $500 billion in costs that the United States consumers or purchasers, businesses or distributors, are paying to the U.S. government for all the products they're buying from all these countries. We got now $500 billion. We can reduce the amount we have to take in taxes by $500 billion. So the reason they're doing this is not to stop fentanyl, is not to renegotiate.
We haven't heard anything about fentanyl lately, have we?
Isn't that interesting? It's not to negotiate some deal. They want the money to be accounted for in U.S. Treasury budgets so that they can reduce the amount of taxes that are necessary without causing the difference between the amount of money that's in the economy and the amount of money that is removed from the economy. That's what they're doing. That's why. Do you know why we know this? Because they've said it. They explain it this way. They say it's worth a small amount of pain for you to pay 10 or 25% more for your products because you're going to get a tax deduction that's going to more than make up for it. I heard Stephen Miller say it this morning. Actually, I did my own research and listened to them. And when you hear them say things, look, I'm not calling these people fools and ignorant because I haven't listened. It's because the things they're saying, they're very clear about. Senators are taking money from USAID, and that's how they're becoming worth $20 million. And all of you are going to have an economy that does so much better because we've reduced taxes that it's okay for you to spend more money on products. That creates an inflation in the price, an increase in the price. It's what's called inflation. Spend more money buying any product from China or Vietnam or Mexico or Canada. The money goes into the US budget, and then we can reduce taxes by the same amount that we took in. So in other words, you consumer buying your guitar from Mexico or China will put the money into the budget so that wealthy people can have their taxes lowered. That's the deal. I'm not wrong about that, am I, Rob? Did I get anything wrong in that equation?
You did not. You were much more correct in everything you said than Elon Musk
Thank
was.
you. He's richer than I am, though. He's richer. And look, I mean, I got that thing going on. His hair actually looks great. He's
richer, Doug. He's richer.
Great hair implants.
Your dad was not a precious metals mining mogul.
No. Was Elon Musk's father wealthy? Huh. No. He made his money by his brilliance and hard work and risk taking, right?
No, it really was. It was like a Henry Ford like inventions.
Oh, yeah. He personally invented the electric. No, he bought the technology. He bought the employees. He made a deal with the U.S. government to subsidize
but like Mark
his business.
Zuckerberg, he wrote the code for a social media platform, right? Didn't he? Didn't he? No, that wasn't him. And just like that, a Starbucks arrived to me.
Again, who's the little? Are you living in the North Pole with little gnomes running around just bringing you things, Santa?
It says we would be lost without you. Isn't that nice?
Did they spell your name right? They get 2 B's in there.
Well, listen, my daughter works at Starbucks. So.
Lovely.
She's home from her shift. She does the morning shift. She gets up at 4:00. Like she has to be at Starbucks at 4:30 in the morning. At what point?
I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted from the rant.
Yeah, I know. This is a rant for another day, maybe. But
okay.
At what point is Donald Trump going to be held accountable for his campaign lies?
In the next election, when he says promises made, promises fulfilled, reelect me to another term.
He consistently said
that
if Kamala Harris was elected, the stock market would crash. And if he was elected, the stock market would go up and people would have more money in their pockets.
Yes.
I think he said within 3 days.
Within 3 days, yeah. Of the election.
Like
technically,
Jesus rising from the dead.
He did have there was the election and the stock market did go up. And the stock market would have gone up had Kamala Harris won, because people would have said, now we know the rules. Now we know what's up. It's for people that do the stock market.
Yes.
It is the uncertainty and the indecision and the possibilities we don't know how to factor in that tends to cause the stock market to shake and to go down.
Every 4 years.
That's how it works.
It's just ridiculous.
And now it's in real trouble. And it's going to start to cut pretty deep. But here's my prediction on what's going to happen. Donald Trump's going to continue to crash the economy. Then he's going to pull back on all these tariffs and say, I did what I needed to do to negotiate. And then the stock market will say, good, that nonsense is over. And all the stock enthusiasts will jump back in the stock market instead of end up being in the bonds or cash market. And then the stock market will go up and you'll say, look at the stock market went up. It's just so dumb. It's just so dumb. And it hurts so many people. And the federal cuts, I know a small yoga studio that receives a small amount of money to help people who don't have access to teach yoga and learn how to teach yoga in struggling communities to be able to have some of their training subsidized. Small amounts, hundreds of dollars. Comes through grants from the federal government from COVID money, COVID spending in 2020. Just got cut because of Doge. My point is, money that was allocated in 2020, in 2021, in 2022 is being distributed in March and April of 2025 because the circuitous route of the money comes from the federal government, goes to state systems. State systems have to make decisions. They have to apply for grants. The money sits there, gets distributed. Here's my point. These cuts will reverberate for a decade. The damage that is being done. It's not like cutting your budget in your family budget for the summer so you can go on a fall vacation. It's going to decimate food banks, systems, employees, Defense Department for decades, because that's how federal spending works. It invests in the future through a circuitous legal route of distribution. Mm-hmm. What these guys have done is to destroy 10 years worth of promises that this country had made to itself. That's the real crime. There's a kid in second grade that will graduate from high school and not be able to get a college loan because of this. And you know what will be found? Zero fraud. You know who will be convicted of stealing money from USAID or any of the other fraud and waste?
Nobody.
Zero people. Yeah. All of it to say, for what? And Doug, if you're so rich that you still need a tax cut to be rich, you must not be very good at what you do. If you're so rich that the only thing you need is to get the federal government to behave in a way for you to be more rich, you must not be very good at what you do, right? Because you say that to poor people all the time. You say if you need the federal government to help you, to give you money, to behave in some way for you to get rich, it's because you're not competent enough. That's what you say to poor people. But for you as a rich person, you say, if I don't get a tax cut, then I can't become more rich because I'm not good enough to become rich under these rules. But poor people should become more rich under the rules that they can't become rich under.
I love it. Okay, Doug, we've got a comment here from DDG DeGraff.
There's a lot of words from DDG DeGraff. Okay,
since it's not the second one directed at Donna May, but the first one.
You all call yourselves Christians, that one?
Yeah. You all call yourselves Christians while defending the most deeply rooted paediocratic network on earth.
That's that.
You stand behind satanic gender propaganda, mutilating children, corrupting innocence, and mocking God's creation and dare to act morally superior. On God, every single one of you defending this demonic agenda will burn in hell. You're not Christians. You're wolves in sheep's clothing, and judgment is coming. DDG
is goofing on Elvis. He's just kidding around.
I just want to.
Brandon, is that you? Brandon, did you make another Facebook profile?
DDG, I just want to remind you that bearing false witness against your neighbor is a sin. Because everything you said there about me and Doug is not true.
Good one. I think someone's just toying with us.
Goofing on Elvis. What a great line.
Nobody talks like that. All right.
Goofing on Elvis. It's a great line.
Yeah.
It's a great line.
Are you goofing on Elvis or are you losing touch?
Yeah.
If you're unfamiliar with that REM song, spent a little
Man
time
on the
this
Moon.
afternoon
Yeah, Man on the
digging
Moon.
around. Then you realize, that was actually about a guy named Andy Kaufman, and that's why he says the name there, because
goofing on Elvis,
or was losing touch, and he wasn't quite sure. And a lot of times, songs actually, are about real things, and they're not just lyrical play on words, where people are like, I don't even know the lyrics to this song, but I love it. Just as a music person, let me say, you can't truly love a song if you don't know what it's about. All right. Hey, yeah, look here.
Lively chat today.
D, hi D. Good to see you out here. D says, Doge is a smokescreen to make everyone think they're cutting waste when they're dismantling everything to reconstruct a new governmental system based on tech bank-based government. Yes, I agree. Now, in the sense that Doge functions as a bit of a Rorschach test is important. Some of the people in the chat have been saying Doge is saving children. Doge is cutting waste. Doge is a smokescreen. We should acknowledge we all come to the world as we are, and we see these things. Now, some of us may end up being more right. Some of us will end up being less right and more wrong. Some of us will be a little wrong. Some of us will be a lot wrong. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
But we can deal with some facts. And what Elon Musk said out loud to a group of people on C-SPAN was how he views the world. And if you think he's right, keep going. If you're pretty sure that's nuts, then stop giving the guy the benefit of the doubt. And if you're a little bit like, wow, I think Elon, I'm real for Elon. I even like the Cybertruck and all that, but I think maybe on that thing he was a little wrong. Okay, fair enough. Just let that move you a little bit. Yeah. Because you know what? When Donald Trump gets all furious and says stuff and is all off the cuff, and you think, I love a guy with honesty. And then other people critique Donald Trump in the same way. And you know what you say? You guys are being shaming. You guys are like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. And just to be perfectly clear, this is not anything personal against Elon Musk.
No.
Because we actually, if the news reports are correct that Elon Musk has staged some kind of intervention in hopes of getting Trump to knock off the dumb tariff thing, or apparently he called Trump advisor Peter Navarro a moron in their disagreement over tariffs. Apparently, Elon Musk, who is so very wrong about government spending and the circuitous route by which members of Congress get rich, he's so wrong about that. And apparently, he's right about tariffs.
He's right about tariffs. Yeah.
See, we can do it. We can do it. You can say, hey, yeah, it's correct.
Curiously, he only wanted a break in tariffs when it came to Europe. You know why? Because that's where they think their expansion of their businesses are.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Just wanted a break for the trust fund boy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But look,
Doug, we have ranted for a long time today.
A long time. And I have another meeting in 6 minutes.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah. Thanks all for being good. Good for you. Go outside, look at the sky.
I'm actually
relax.
recording another podcast at 1:00 today.
This is the first I've heard of this. You have another podcast, buddy?
I recorded a podcast. I was a guest on the Red Letter Christians podcast last week, which I don't think it's out yet, talking with Shane Claiborne. And today I will be a guest on the spiritual awakening, spiritual journeys, spiritual something with Pastor Fred Herring.
Wow. Well, share those around, would you, when they come out? People would love to
know
know
about
about
as soon as they're out. And I'm talking about the gospel according to Donald Trump. And I'd encourage everybody to head over to the gospel according to DonaldTrump.com. And you have a little laugh, buy a little book, and support me.
Support me. Elon Musk. Elon Musk signing out.
It's clearly book deals are the way people get rich.
That
Business
is great.
Insider said so.
That is great. All right. Hey, thanks y'all for being a part of this. If you want the audio version only to send to your friends, it'll come out in a little bit here this afternoon. And if you're on our Vote Common Good email list, you'll keep up. We'll let you know what we do and how your small and large donations every month can help us keep doing what we're doing. Because it's harder to be a paid troll than you think.